team.
John, would you care to take a swipe at the Louisville coaching job and what they're going to do there? Because it feels like they doubled down on getting Scott Drew, which was a mistake because he wasn't leaving Baylor. And then now, like, it seems like their field is drying up a little bit.
Yeah, I do think that their field has dried up a little bit. I also wonder if Josh Schertz is emerging here, the Indiana State coach who's still in the NIT. You know, for me, like Pat Kelsey's on the radar from Charleston. Well, if Pat Kelsey was the guy, wouldn't you have hired him by now? Richard Pitino has emerged on their list. I think and that would be fascinating. Although I don't see how Louisville can hire a Pitino. That to me seems like it's too far-fetched. Maybe I'll be wrong and eat my words. Richard had nothing to do with the Rick Louisville era, other than the fact that, well, he is his son. But we'll see. I do think Louisville's at a crossroads. It's not going to be Scott Drew. It was never going to be Scott Drew. I think this, you know what this says to me, guys? That Louisville is no longer a blue blood program. It's no longer a top 10 job. It's a passionate fan base. It's a quality job, but there's been so much damage. Here's what I liken it to, right? You guys in your neighborhood or area, is there an establishment? There's got to be an establishment. I won't name any names to call anybody out, but 25 years ago, they had the best food, the best of the best. And the place is still around, but the place has gotten lapsed. And they're still trying to be open for business because of who they were 25 years ago. And they're no longer that. They're no longer that. You can't do things. You can't be the same who you've been forever. And I get an Oakland, now Vegas Raiders vibe from Louisville. I think the brand is big. I think the fan base is huge, but I think their dysfunction speaks for itself. And I think that anybody who's looking at this job, who's currently got a nice job, is too afraid of doing what Chris Mack did. Chris Mack left Xavier, a very nice job for Louisville. And within 3-4 years, it didn't matter that at one point his team was going to be was one of the best teams in college basketball. It ended. It ended over drama and dysfunction and just a lack of building culture. It is a massive rebuild there. And if you're Duke, Kentucky, or Carolina, and that job opened, even if you were at your worst, it wouldn't be looked at as a massive rebuild. We should never look at a top 10 job as a massive rebuild. To me, Louisville is now a large rebuild and something that other high major coaches don't want any part of because of the scars they've seen from their colleagues.
When the Drew speculation, which was mainly made from somebody obviously leaked it, the Louisville media, I can see why they would love that. I sent a note to an administrator at Baylor, and the response to me was, if this was 10 years ago, if this was 2012 or 13 or whatever, then maybe Scott at least looks. But now he's built what is, even though the last 3 years have ended quickly, he has built what is a brand new arena that he helped build. And then obviously the national title, and his recruiting is great right now too. So Louisville and men's basketball, and this pains me because I'm a Nebraska guy. Are they Nebraska in basketball, what Nebraska is in football?
Yeah, it feels that way. Yeah. It really does. Because again, there's a following. They rate on, well, I will say this. TV executives tell me there's a bit of apathy in terms of their viewership. Like, it's one of those things where, the brand is there, but it's kind of got Georgetown to it. Mm-hmm. Like, it's been a while since they've been good. Yeah. Georgetown's the same way. Like, we talk about these schools and what they're known for. And like, the Pitino era seems so far ago in Louisville. Think about this. You know why it seems so far ago? It wasn't that long ago. It's been in the last decade that he was the coach there. When they play their first game next season, they will have now had 6 different head coaches between interims, and those interims, like David Padgett, served a full season. They will have had 6 different coaches lead their team, go to press conference, represent their program in the last 9 years.
Yeah, you cannot have instability And hey, I got to ask you one more thing, John.